This is the story of an implant, a supposed alien implant after a UAP encounter. That's right, someone encountered a UFO and walked away with something implanted in them by allegedly these aliens. I've got the story for you. Let's jump in. Now, before we begin this story, let me explain that I have exclusive footage, 3 exclusive clips today to show you about this alleged alien implant, okay? One is going to be an interview with the actual person, never heard before.
It looked like a diamond effect on the x-ray film when you look at it. And I told the doctor, when the x-ray, he said, there's something in there, and if it's bothering you, we need to go in and get out. I said, well, whatever you get that's in there, I want it. He made sure I got it back. And an interview with Dr. Garry Nolan, a Stanford professor who allegedly had a look at these implants.
To be honest, there's plenty of other acclaimed implants that at some point it might be worth taking a look at.
And lastly, a video of this implant being tested for its magnetic capabilities.
To check it to see if the implant is magnetic.
Again, 3 clips, never been shown before, except on Vetted in an interview I did with Ron James not too long ago. But for some reason, people haven't noticed this. So I wanted to make this video to sort of highlight this exclusive footage because Lue Elizondo has spoken about said implant and said that he can't talk about who the person is. Well, I can. So here is a clip of Luis Elizondo on News Nation talking about this specific implant.
This is possibly an alien implant.
Well, if you look, there's actually a piece of the chip sticking out and what appears to be these fibers that were moving on their own. And then it looks like this chip or whatever this is, this foreign object, is encapsulated by some sort of biological material.
And then most recently, I saw Luis Elizondo talk about this implant in his Jesse Michaels interview. I'll put a link in the description. Please go check out the full interview. Here's a clip.
You handled an implant, and it was the Department of
Veterans Affairs
gave you this implant. That's you describe it as these fibers, these spindly fibers, and then you sort of you get those away from the thing. It's this like microchip. Is that right? Or
so let me give you the best explanation I can. Imagine a little square piece of metal that was iridescent, meaning different colors, purples and silvers and different colors, that was entombed in a soft, gelatinous, what appeared to be human soft tissue. If you were to remove a tissue sample from somebody, maybe about this big, and inside there was a foreign object that was metallic, it appeared to be metallic and multicolored. And on the biological material, this encapsulation, these fibers, multicolored fibers, yellows, greens, blues, that came off of that central piece of gooey mass. And according to the pathologist, it was moving under the microscope under its own metabolism.
wow.
Yeah, and it was removed by a surgeon from the Department of Veterans Affairs from a U.S. veteran who claimed to have a up-close and personal contact with a UAP.
Occupants or just UAP?
I don't know about that particular case, and I have to be very careful.
If there's an implant,
HIPAA and patient confidentiality.
Where do we have any sense of where that implant is, or?
We have an idea.
Okay.
Now, let's hear from the man himself, okay? The person who actually had this implant, right? Now, again, I've only shown this, it's only shown, I should say, in my interview with Ron James, but I am bringing the clip here in this video. So without further ado, let's hear from this unnamed person for the moment, talking about the experience that led to the implant. And then I'll share the rest of the interview where he talks about the implant. But again, this is just the incident with the UFO that led, again, to this implant. So here you go.
You turned over a specimen to MUFON some time ago, and what actually happened with that specimen is that it was turned over to TTSA and Lue Elizondo, and then it went to Stanford University, where Garry Nolan actually declined to study it, and then it found its way back to you. And in between, we had the whole situation with the MUFON labs, where they did some analysis on it as well. And so Lue Elizondo's new book, Imminent, has come out. MUFON was working with To the Stars Academy in the very beginning, and we, after our initial analysis of that implant, it was given to Lue Elizondo, who then took it to Stanford University to have Dr. Garry Nolan study it. There was a problem with the paperwork, and so Garry Nolan declined to study it. So Garry Nolan declined to study it for a variety of reasons. And then it was returned to Lue Elizondo and ultimately returned to you.
Correct.
So the
like
story about your about this thing is it's out there, but nobody knows that it's you, and certainly we're not going to tell anybody because it's that's your privacy. But
Mr. James, to be honest with you, I frankly don't give a damn what anybody thinks, because I know what I went through and I know what I've seen. People that, this topic that we're talking about, it's time that the truth come out, because from what my research has been over my lifetime, somebody's lying.
Oh, well, there's a lot of people lying.
And it was a clear night. I'll never forget the incident up to a certain point that my mind go blank. But we were headed back, and so he said, "Man, I got this new headset of night goggles." So I said, "Really?" I said, "I never tried one of them. Can I try it?" So he slowed down. It was out in the middle of nowhere, so there wasn't no traffic. He just kind of pulled over the side of the road, and he got me hooked up, and I got him on. My girlfriend was sleeping in the back. Well, we got back on the road, and so I'm riding with these night vision goggles on, and I turned to my right. I'm a passenger in the front seat. I turned to my right, and I see all these orbs, these lights, and the one that it caught my attention was pretty good in size. From when it got up on us, it looked like a top hat, but it was saucer shaped with like a top hat part of it on top of it. And he had some goggles, night vision goggles himself, and we pulled over the side of the road because he's driving, and I'm sitting here looking at it as we drive. And I said, "Man, you see these lights?" And he'd look over at it once in a while. Finally, I just told him, I said, "Man, pull over. You got to look at this." So he did. Me and him both got out of the car and walked on the shoulder of the road. And my girlfriend woke up and she thought we just got to, stop, take a piss. And so she was laid back down. Well, this UFO, if you want to call it that, it was probably a quarter mile off from the highway. Like it was right nesting up against the side of the mountains that we were traveling against. And it was just sitting there with us. And by that time, we said, "Man, let's go." And so we got back in the car to head back to Riverside. And my memory, the next thing I know, it's the next morning.
Now let's get to the part where this gentleman talks about the implant itself, right? And again, he had it x-rayed, he had it removed, it stayed in his body for 30 to 40 years before he decided to have this implant removed, right? And just to show you that this is the same implant, right, which I can't confirm, here's a picture of both the images side by side, the one that Lue Elizondo shows and the one that is shown from Mufon and Ron James, right? You can clearly see this is the same implant. And I can confirm, and Ron can too, this is the same guy, right? So, and I'll explain at the end of the video why exactly Ron can talk about this, right? But here is the gentleman talking about the implant, having it removed, x-rayed, the whole thing. Here you go.
It was just kind of puffy and soft, like a bump. And I thought it was like an abscess or something of that nature. And I thought it would come to a head and bust eventually, but it never did. And then I got the job at Boeing in Seattle. So when I got to Seattle, I had it x-rayed again and nothing showed up again. Well, after Boeing in Seattle, I finally came home back here to Oklahoma. And finally, the doctor that looked at it both times told me if it wouldn't bother me, don't worry about it. I thought it was just an abscess. Well, I let it go. I bet you at least 30, 40 years for it. It started bothering me, and I started getting x-rays of it. Well, finally, when I got back to Oklahoma, I went to the VA, and it came up for some reason. It came up on their x-ray. I mean, it came up. It looked like a diamond effect on the x-ray film when you look at it. And I told the doctor, when the x-ray, he said, there's something in there. And if it's bothering you, we need to go in and get out. I said, well, whatever you get that's in there, I want it. He made sure I got it back. And so, you got to collaborate with the VA on that procedure. He did say something. It was some unusual procedures in the course of him taking it out. He didn't get into detail about it. But
Now, remember, I've got two more clips for you. The next one is going to be Dr. Garry Nolan talking about this implant. Again, this footage was never seen before, okay? It was outtakes, basically, deleted scenes from Ron James's documentary, The Accidental Truth, right? That's why the green screen is behind it and everything. You'll see what I'm talking about. So anyway, let's play the clip. Dr. Garry Nolan talking about this implant and why he didn't study it. All right, here we go. Ron James talking to Dr. Garry Nolan, Stanford professor. Footage not included in the first Accidental Truth, again, about this implant. Here we go.
Right back when TTSA first started, and they were making some statements about having some materials, we had a metallic biological sample, Mufon, that was a supposed implant removed from somebody. We took this thing and we preserved it properly in laboratory conditions, and we gave it to Lue Elizondo. Now, the word was that it made it to Stanford, which may have been you.
The material did come to me, and I returned it as is. When you're talking about taking something out of somebody's body, it needs pathology review first, right? It needs to go to a pathologist to make sure that it wasn't cancer. So, my statement back to them was, I'm sending you this back tomorrow. I just got it today because I don't have a consent form. You want me to do stuff on it, but if it hasn't gone through, I see no pathologist's review here. I will lose my job if I touch this stuff.
It was stated in what got back to MUFON that there were certain legal ramifications about the sample. And of course, a lot of people are just conspiracy minded. They're like, well, they just destroyed it so it couldn't be properly analyzed.
No, there's plenty of other, to be honest, there's plenty of other acclaimed implants that at some point it might be worth taking a look at.
There's Roger Lear's stuff.
Only once I see that there is, evidence of consent, even if the person is deceased, you still have to have evidence of consent from the family, right? It's just following protocol.
I really appreciate you clearing that up. There's still people that think it was some big conspiracy, and I'm like, I'm gonna find out.
You can't just take pieces of people and send it around by FedEx.
It's also important to dispel conspiracy when you
Oh, I can say this, and there's still people who are going to say I'm lying.
And now, here is the footage of the implant actually being tested for magnetic properties. Now, take that as you will, right? Is that the proper test? What more tests should they do? I don't know. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here to just show you this implant in action. You can see it in video. There doesn't exist another video out there of this implant. Again, the same one Lue Elizondo is talking about, the same one he is saying he can't give any more information. Well, in this video, you're getting all of the information. You're hearing from the gentleman himself, an exclusive footage, thanks to Mufon and Ron James. And you're also getting exclusive footage of Dr. Garry Nolan talking about the implant. And now, here's the exclusive footage of the implant being tested for magnetic properties.
To check it to see if the implant is magnetic. I'm using plastic forceps. So the only metals here will be on the magnet and the implant. It sticks to it. It won't come off unless I really pull it off. It is definitely magnetic.
Now, you're probably wondering, why can you show this, Patrick? Why is it that Lue can't talk about it, but you can? Well, that's because Ron James brought it exclusively to Vetted, right? And he's got a full interview with that gentleman coming out in his new documentary, The Accidental Truth, next, right? A follow-up to The Accidental Truth, right? Which is where that Garry Nolan footage came from. But that's why he's able to talk with it. He's talking directly with, you know, the implantee, if you will, right? That's why. And that guy gave his okay for it to be talked about, right? So that's why. That's why Elizondo can't talk about it, but we can here, thanks to Ron James and Mufon. You know, say what you want. You know, you can make up your own mind from this, but at least there's something here to look at and to study, to think about, right? More than just a story. Let's hear from the implantee himself, right? So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Hope you enjoyed today's video. We'll see you guys next time. Remember, every day's a gift, y'all. Peace!
I live inside my own world of make-believe. Kids screaming in their cradles, profanities. I see the world through ice covered in ink and bleach. Cross out the ones who heard my cries and watched me weep.